Happy holidays to you and yours. Welcome to another edition of the Hrdwood Huddle, the holiday edition of the Hrdwood Huddle. I'm Randy Zelia from backsportspage.com, rocking the old New Jersey Nets gear for today, along with one of the best Santas I know, the festive man wearing the Rockets gear. He's not in COVID protocol, but he's here with you today. Bill Ingram, what's going on, brother?
As it turns out, I'm one of the few not in COVID protocol. Now,
Yeah.
we have to point out, Randy's in Hanukkah colors, right? Don't say he's not being festive. And I'm in Rockets, I've got my Rockets red festive colors. So there you go.
Yeah, and you make it work well for you. You know what I mean? Like you're making it look like it's a festive time. It makes me almost want to convert. That's another story.
Well, I'm trying my best to just be the secular, not the, so we don't have a competing although really it's the same religion. It's just there was a disagreement a couple thousand years ago about the significance of this one guy. It's kind of the only difference between Judaism and Christianity.
We always seem to go back there, don't we?
Even when you go fighting over the Temple Mount, they've been doing it for thousands of years. Just okay.
Well, before we go knee deep in NBA talk, real quick, don't forget to follow the show on social media. We're through backsportspage.com. You can follow Bill, as you can see on the screen there, at the Rocket Guy, me at Randy BSB, most of our social networks. Guys, lots of basketball news, and maybe not as much basketball for some as we would like, as we start with how COVID has taken over the NBA. And man, games being postponed, stars being out, replacement players being signed. There's a lot of different facets to go with this. So let's start with the fact that big name stars are now sitting out because COVID has kicked in. Luka's going to be missing Christmas Day. Kevin Durant has been in protocol. Trae Young in protocol. It's a lot of different players are all, what they say, 47. Up until last week, I saw 47 players this month have been going into COVID protocol. Bill, how much does this hurt the season? And I guess essentially it hurt the NBA right now.
Well, it hurts the product, number one, because you look at a box score after a game's over and the score is like, what happened in that game? And then you look at, I don't even know any of these guys that played. They're all these last minute signees and the role players who are starting. And that's not good for the game. I mean, especially imagine if you're a fan who shelled out big bucks to go see Milwaukee play, and there's no Giannis. So there's no, you go see Dallas. There's no Luka. There's no Kristaps Porzingis. Granted, those are injuries. But right now we're at a state where night after night, you're looking at the standings and you're looking at the scoreboard. And really none of it matters because the real guys aren't playing in so many games. And honestly, the criteria between a game getting postponed and a game having to play with four guys that they just signed the morning of the game to try and have enough guys to fill a roster. I understand the business side, Silver's perspective of the business side, which is let's not postpone the season because it gets complicated with arena usage and all these things. At the same time, you're really hurting your business model. Imagine if someone just loves Big Mac and fries and McDonald's runs out of Big Macs and fries and people go to McDonald's and they're like, I'm sorry, we only have Whoppers and tater tots. Are those people really, aren't you hurting your business model? Aren't you hurting your business by doing that? And that seems to be what the NBA is doing.
And by the way, just for the record, that analogy is pretty much what we call the New York Knicks on a daily basis. That's a rough shot first thing in the morning.
Food burger, right?
Yeah. Well, you can say
cauliflower tater tots.
Oh, well, that's like sitting there saying the Brooklyn Nets are McDonald's and the Knicks are McDowell's right now. You can make it all a New York analogy, so it all works. But so and let's jump on that too. The fact that Adam Silver has no plans to postseason as of yet, meaning that he's not taking it off the table. That's a phrase here in New Jersey Governor Murphy has been using. Nothing is off the table as far as shutdowns or anything else like that. But at what point if you're Adam Silver, do you sit there saying maybe it's not the worst idea like what the NHL is doing, where they're taking a little break right now, where they can sort of say, why don't we just take a week off and get everybody healthy? We'll fit those other games in here at some point when we can. But look, let's get everybody healthy. Let's get our stars out there, especially when you have Christmas Day coming up, where you have, this is technically, yes, you had opening day back in October, but this is really the coming out party of the NBA, which is the Christmas season on Christmas Day. We're going to go over the games in a little bit. But look, I don't want to watch the Nets right now. And as much as we all like Blake Griffin, as Blake Griffin is the number one guy on that team, I don't want to watch the Atlanta Hawks playing with Lance Stephenson right now. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a Chicago Bulls team with 5 of their G League players playing up right now. So Adam Silver has a really tough decision to make, because this, at the end of the day, it's him and the board of directors that have to make the tough decision on whether they want to keep this going and keep having their main players, who, by the way, probably don't mind taking a little break right now. Yes, they have COVID, but they don't mind taking a little break in the middle of this stretch run. So they're home, they're resting and relaxing. What do you think Adam Silver should do at this point?
You know, it's awfully tough 2 days before Christmas, as we tape this, to cancel those games on national television. Big matchups, in at least in the titles anyway. Maybe not the participants. We shall see. But I think after Christmas, it's going to be time. It's going to be time to say, hey, there's too many guys, whether they're in COVID protocols now, or whether they're choosing to sit out, or whether they're being labeled with an injury. You know how we love to do that, hamstring pull, just because the teams don't want to risk the players playing. It's time. It's time to take a pause. It's time to really understand what this Omicron variant will do. My best friend and I, who follow the news from the left and right perspective, and we try to compare notes to see what the real story is on a given day. You know, last week we saw stories where if you're vaccinated and have your booster, you don't have to worry about Omicron. Then there was a story that came out of Columbia University, a study that said it doesn't matter. Omicron will get through your whatever you've had. Nothing matters. Omicron will still get you. And then there was another story from another university study that said if you've had the Pfizer, Omicron goes right through it. But if you've had the other one, I mean, and these were all on the same day. We don't know. But the bottom line is, the last thing that the NBA needs, or the world, or anyone needs, is for Kevin Durant to die of COVID, or LeBron James to die, one of the marquee guys. Why are we doing this? It's a game. It's a sport. We love the sport. It's a nice distraction from some of the craziness in the real world. But at the end of the day, it's a game, and we're risking, potentially, we don't know to what extent, but we may be risking the lives of the players by having them compete, when we could just say, hey, let's take a breath. Let's wait and see what the really good science is 2-3 weeks from now, and act accordingly based on the best science, and not put our league, our players, even our fans, let's not put them in jeopardy when it's really just not necessary.
You're watching and listening to the Hrdwood Huddle here on the Back Sports Page Radio Network, cavetalkradio.com. We have a little friend of ours jumping on here, Ryan Stern from backsportspage.com. Ryan, what's going on, brother?
Merry Christmas, Ryan.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everyone. Ready to talk some football.
That was Ryan Stern joining us here on the Hrdwood Huddle.
How's everyone doing?
Good, man. Thanks for jumping on. I'm assuming that you have a take on this whole COVID NBA thing.
Yeah, well, so I know you guys, I know Randy had brought up the whole thing with the NHL, and the NHL is at a little bit more of a liberty to take this little bit of a pause, because they just announced that they will not be sending their players to the Olympics. So there was a 3-week gap that there were no games that were going to be played in early February, that now the NHL has those 3 weeks to make up these games where hopefully, because I mean, we've seen almost full teams come down with COVID over the past couple weeks. The Calgary Flames, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Vancouver Canucks have all been stricken by this crazy breakout. So now they're able to put this little pause in play, make sure that everyone gets healthy, and then use those 3 weeks that the NHL now has gifted to them, because I think for the right reasons are not allowing their players to go over for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I think that's key. And sadly, the NBA doesn't have that luxury of having that long break, unless they would decide they want to try and cut All-Star week short. But
that's only a week, but still.
Yeah, but still, you can sort of work with that. But the Nets, like for example, a team like the Nets who just lost the Denver game and the Portland game, so those are 2 games out west. So now you have to find a way in their travels to get them back out onto the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's such a tough thing. Like you just said, the NHL has that 3-week window. The NBA doesn't have that window. So it's a real tough. It's a tough conundrum that Adam Silver has found himself in.
It's not all that. It's the scheduling of these arenas. The NBA arenas don't sit empty when the teams, if the Mavericks aren't playing at American Airlines Center, that doesn't mean American Airlines Center isn't being used. There'll be a Taylor Swift. Well, I guess she plays at the Cowboy Stadium. But anyway, there'll be concerts, there'll be events, there'll be, other things going on. That then it's not so easy to say, oh, let's play this game March 15th because March 15th there's some concert or something.
Yeah. The one thing that the NBA has going for it that the NHL doesn't is the ability to extend the season.
Yeah.
The longer you get into the summer, it's a lot tougher to maintain the ice at the proper temperature. You can have all the air conditioning in the world. You still need it to. You can't have it be 115 degrees with humidity inside that arena. It's just not good for a hockey surface. You do have that ability to at least extend the season in terms of the NBA.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Stern, I have already learned 2 things that I didn't know because I don't follow hockey at all.
There's
two interesting insights that you can't maintain the ice, that they have a 3-week break for the. Those are great points.
Yeah.
And not only that, I literally had the mental picture of trying to extend the NHL season into that later point, and just guys keep running onto the ice with more ice, just throwing it out there.
When in 2020, when they had the bubble situation, it had to be all the way up in Edmonton, Canada, because it never gets above.
That's right.
50 degrees up there. So it was a lot easier to maintain.
The NHL announced that they're going to be doing the rest of their season in Alaska, where they only have 3 days of summer. So that's that's the new. That's what Gary Bettman's going to come out with in a little while.
Real life mystery Alaska, and one of the most underrated sports movies around. That really is a funny movie. I do recommend it.
Well, Ryan, knowing that you're a hockey and a football guy. I know you used to watch the NBA a little bit. Do you have any Christmas Day memories of the NBA that you wanted to share before we let you go?
It's been so long since I have really focused on the NBA. All I remember is it was always on. The TV was always on, and it was always on ABC or NBC back in the day. When I used to watch it, it was that background to Christmas dinner where we weren't always watching, but the NBA was always on the TV. So that's the main memory that I have.
Guys, check out Ryan Stern with Zero Technique Podcast every Wednesday here on the Back Sports Page Network. Ryan, thanks for giving us a few minutes, buddy.
Merry Christmas, boys.
Ryan.
The great Ryan Stern. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 20 seconds here on the Hrdwood Huddle. All right, we're back here on the Hrdwood Huddle. Take a quick little 20-second break there. Thanks to Ryan Stern for jumping on. And I liked on how he was able to sort of push into that NHL situation with us, like we were discussing, the NHL taking a break, being able to sort of have that little 3-week period. I didn't know that either. They have that little break that they can fill in the time with getting some games back. The NBA doesn't have that unless they decide maybe instead of breaking for All-Star on Wednesday night, break on Friday night, might be able to sneak a couple games in here and there. And instead of coming back on trade deadline day on that Thursday, All-Star game ends Sunday night, be back ready to go on Tuesday. That's might be a way to make up a couple games here and there. Time will tell what they're going to do with that. But I think that's the best way you can sort of look at that right now. I think each team might have given up 1 or 2 games, might be able to fill that in somewhere in there.
Certainly the short term easy answer. There's a lot of teams that don't play even after Monday All-Star week. So yeah, there's a small window there.
Well, and it's funny too. We talk about COVID and how negative it is that it's taking away some of the stars, but let's talk about one of the positives. You know, a lot of these younger players from the G League or even European players are getting the opportunity to come to the NBA and sort of put their business card out there and have that opportunity, including some guys who've already been retired. As you see on the graphic on the screen, both Joe Johnson and Lance Stephenson, who've had stellar NBA careers, found their way back into the league this week. Joe Johnson back, I believe he's with the Detroit Pistons. Is that correctly? Or Lance Stephenson, I know, is with the Hawks. Let me get that clarification on Joe Johnson for you. I don't want to give off the wrong information. I think I might have just did, so I apologize. He is. No, people are going in and out all over the place, so he might start. He is with the. He's with the Boston Celtics. I apologize. So I was 100% wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, why would you go to the Detroit Pistons? My Lord. The Pistons tried to sign us. We weren't available. So
I was busy watching a movie.
Empire Strikes Back was back on. I got to watch that. Come on now.
Ghostbusters Afterlife in this case, but yeah, okay.
So Joe Johnson's with the Celtics. Lance Stephenson's with the Hawks. And former NBA players are sort of lining up and putting their business cards back out there to see if they can get out there. And, you know, it's funny. I've been hearing these stories about Shaq trying to get himself back into shape, thinking that he might be able to go back out there and play. I literally just had this mental picture.
That's a big. He's not in shape.
No, he is. He's round. That's his shape right now. We love Shaq.
That. You have to have a toga uniform.
I'm just waiting to get the press release from the Houston Rockets. Rockets signed Vernon Maxwell and Kenny Smith to start this week. They probably have more.
They could get Akeem if they only had to play half court. He just has that spinal issue where he can't run the full court, but he can.
Yeah, he can do. He can do a lot.
Play offense.
Yeah, but it is interesting though, and I'm not promoting that every NBA player under the age of 40 should dust off their sneakers and get back on the court. But are there some of these veterans out there that you can think of that can still contribute, that you think you'd want to see try to come back here during this COVID time, that can contribute to some of these teams?
Well, we hear about guys playing in different events, minor league events that are I don't pay attention to those things. I know that guys are playing. And for me, granted, I'm old school. I would rather watch some of these guys that retired for, Kevin Garnett. I'd rather watch Tim. Tim wouldn't do it. But there are some guys that are recently retired. I don't think Dirk has it. Dirk didn't look too good the last 2 years of his career. Some of them played every bit of the basketball out of their bodies. But some of the guys who retired mid-30s maybe, I'd rather watch Joe Johnson, frankly. I'd rather watch Joe Johnson play than somebody from the Maine Red Claws or, the G League. I'd rather watch a guy that I've watched for many years. It's interesting, if Joe Johnson can average 12 or 14 points a game, that's more interesting to me. Although I do understand the value of some 20-year-old or 21-year-old kid on the G League team getting a chance to come up and do something like the Mavs have called up some guys and they've really contributed to their last win. And there's some value to that too in the long term. But in terms of marquee value and what's exciting, it's more exciting to see some of the all-stars of old come back and put a few more games under their belts. I find that interesting.
I actually have one name that I think would be very interesting to see if he came out. And man, it's just because I think he still has something to give, and that's Tony Parker.
Oh, sure.
And Tony Parker, I think, would be able to go to a team like a Charlotte, go to a team with about a lot of young players, and pass on that knowledge and be able to give something back to those younger guys right now. Same thing with Manu, but I think Manu's attitude is, if I'm not playing overseas and I'm not playing for the Spurs, I ain't playing. I think that's his.
Yep.
So I think that's his attitude. But it'd be very interesting to see. I know Darren Williams said he wanted to come back to the NBA after his boxing debut this past weekend, and there's quite a few guys who would love to have that chance to put up one more time. I one guy who I saw YouTube video clips of what he's looking like now. He looks better than when he played originally in the league. Was Jason Richardson. He's a monster right now. If you would go back and look at some of his YouTube videos, you can see that he's definitely.
Jamal Crawford stays ready.
Jamal Crawford is like a cat with 9 lives in the NBA. You have a problem, just call Jamal Crawford. He just comes and he'll play. He's like the coolest cat in the room. You got a basketball, you have a court, you need a player, he's there. Jamal Crawford is the guy you keep on your speed dial. Yep. He's available for any pickup game around the country right now. That's what Jamal Crawford is. But no, I think it is a very interesting open door policy right now with the NBA. But especially the guys like Joe Johnson and Lance Stephenson and some of these other players, though, and this is something that I did get confirmation from with our friends over at the NBA Alumni Association. If you are going to come back, you can't be filed with the Alumni Association. Because you're sort of, I'm not trying to give away too much of the business thing, but if you're going to get a paycheck from the NBA Alumni Association and be under that benefits and everything else like that, you can't go back onto the court and start trying to cash a paycheck from the league as well. It's two sort of different associations and organizations. It's a different animal. Let's really quickly go over some news and notes around the NBA. This is a quick one. Knicks guard Derrick Rose out 8 weeks after surgery on his back. We joked about this before we even went on the air. Not that we're joking about a man's surgery, but the simple fact of we didn't even know he was out with injury. Look, the Knicks, you and I have talked about it, played above their means last season and made the playoffs, and Derrick Rose played very, very well in that playoff run for them. And this season, they've sort of been brought down to earth about what they really are as a team. They seem to play better when Derrick is on the floor. What kind of hit is this for the Knicks, if a hit at all, to what their playoff hopes are for this year?
Well, I don't think they have playoff hopes either way, but with Derrick Rose, it's no longer about him going out and dropping a triple-double or scoring 30 points, winning the game for you. It's about the basketball IQ, and that's something that is in short supply with the New York Knicks always. Yeah. And so introducing him into the lineup and onto the court instantly makes you better in ways that are both tangible and intangible. So it's not that they're going to miss his 12 points a game or 5, whatever his stats would be for that game, but they will miss his just that smarts, the right play at the right time, the right call at the right time. Is that any kind of make or break for the Knicks? They really just aren't that good. So he's going to be out. Are they even near a position to be in the bubble when he comes back? I mean, maybe there's so much mediocrity in the East. There's so much parity. And then you add in the games being lost. Teams that like the Nets are going to lose a bunch of games they wouldn't have lost because of COVID. And a lot of teams are in that situation. The Bucks are certainly going to lose a bunch of games. Giannis is out, the same kind of situation. So does the COVID factor and injury factor make it so that the Knicks still have a shot at getting into the bubble when he comes back? Maybe, but it's certainly not going to be anything the Knicks do. It'll be the rest of the East not putting them in the rearview mirror. Yeah,
right now the Knicks are a game out of the 10th spot.
Mm-hmm.
They're 7.5 back from the conference. They're half a game behind Atlanta for the 11th spot. So right now they're struggling. That's a struggling team whose fan base and media around New York were sitting there getting ready to crown them NBA champions after the first week of the season. But we know how that works.
Too, right after that first week.
Yeah, it's
Go
crazy.
Kings.
Yeah. Go Wolves, baby. Go Wolves.
Yeah.
Carl Anthony Towns, MVP. The other news that came out this week is obviously what's going on with Frank Vogel, not with the team right now, health and protocol. And obviously Anthony Davis going down with injury for the Lakers. Dave Fizdale said Russell Westbrook needs to just sort of play steady, be himself with this roster that's struggling right now with the Lakers. Look, you and I have gone up and down since the season started with the Lakers. There's some guys that are just not a good fit. And maybe now with Anthony Davis out, LeBron will have to alter his role and let Russell handle the ball and be the number 2 since Anthony Davis is not there. What does the dynamic of Anthony Davis not being in the lineup with this current Lakers lineup that now can help Russell Westbrook?
There's a wonderful video that you and I saw from our colleague Tracy Graven, who shared it. I think it's got to be on YouTube, of Anthony Davis it's not really Anthony Davis, but it clearly is meant to be him, at a snack machine, and he puts in the money and the candy bar falls out and hits him in the foot and he's injured and he falls over. And, you hate to see somebody hurt like that, but that is the reality of Anthony Davis. He's just hurt all the time. So life without him is something that if he's on your team, life without him is one of
normal
the things that you have to understand. And so this is a team uniquely situated if LeBron is healthy, which this season I've seen the age factor with LeBron where he just can't turn it on like he's done in the past. And every athlete gets to that point. Michael got to that point. Hakeem got to that point. Dirk, everyone, they all get there. So Russell Westbrook now could be the number 1 option on that team. The thing is, the rest of the squad is not, Russell Westbrook has never been on a team as good as the Oklahoma City Thunder were. And I always think about this. If Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook had stayed together, all of them went chasing championships elsewhere. If they'd stayed together, they would have found it.
Yeah,
that's where they started.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? You say that too, and I say this about Kevin Durant. If you want to put in a LeBron analogy with him, LeBron said before he went back to Cleveland for that second stint, he said going to Miami was like for him going to college where he learned how to win. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the Thunder just didn't know how to win. Like Kevin Durant didn't know how to lead a team to a championship, and playing with Steph and Clay and Draymond gave him that. And then obviously egos got in the way and tensions got there because you just had really competitive people in the same locker room. Somebody had to go. And that's what the Nets are benefiting right now. And they had it last season, especially during that playoff run. Yes, an inch further back of that 3-pointer from Kevin Durant, the Bucks would have been eliminated and the Nets would have been in the conference finals. Yeah. So Durant knows what he's doing, and Durant is a leader on this team. Westbrook, on the other hand, never had the opportunity to go to a place where he can learn how to win. Mm-hmm. And that's where he is right now. So the numbers always look more impressive, but the results are not winning. So I think right now this is where Russell Westbrook has to check himself and maybe have to change up his game. The Lakers shouldn't have to alter what they do to fit Russell. Russell has to fit what they need right now. And now with Anthony Davis out, Westbrook needs to fill in the scoring punch and let LeBron sort of be the down low guy and Westbrook take the perimeter. Not LeBron taking the perimeter, AD takes the post, and Russell, you just sort of fit where we can do that. They need to alter what they're doing now, and Westbrook needs to sort of fall in line in this sense.
It's too bad that the Lakers, if you're a Lakers fan, it's too bad that you didn't take a long look at John Wall. It's too bad that you didn't take a long look at Kemba Walker. Guy, instead of looking for the guy who would fit, they look for the name. And it's a trap. That's a trap in the modern NBA, and many teams fall into it. It's like these guys think they're playing NBA 2K because on NBA 2K you can put Westbrook and Harden and LeBron and Steph and KD all on the same team and go 82-0. That doesn't work that way in the real world.
And the Nets are feeling the same thing right now too. By the way, the Nets are the number one team in the Eastern Conference right now, but they have not looked good whatsoever this year.
The reason they're number one is look at all the injuries Milwaukee's had. Milwaukee's had so many games lost to injuries and now COVID. But even before COVID, the beginning of the season, you had 3-4 starters out on a given night, and they just started to hit their stride. And now COVID hits. If Milwaukee didn't have all those injuries, New Jersey isn't in the first seat, or Brooklyn isn't in the first seat.
Same thing with the Miami Heat. If Bam and Jimmy Butler are on the floor, we're not having this conversation.
Jimmy Butler's missed how many games? I keep waiting to see him in the lineup. He's always out.
Butler played the first 2 weeks of the season, and then they were the number one seed by far. And then when he went down,
and Chicago lost Vukovic for some games, and then Chicago kind of the same thing. When they were healthy, they looked amazing. So some factors have helped. Kind of like the Knicks are still chasing the bubble. The Nets are still in the first spot, but it's not because they're blowing everybody away. It's because the teams that are better than them have had more issues.
It's funny. You look at the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, which is the Nets, and we're saying on how underwhelming they look. And then you look out in the Western Conference, and yes, the bottom half of the Western Conference is very undesirable as far as the bubble teams and the mid teams. But man, Phoenix and the Warriors are just playing on different levels compared to everybody else.
They really are. There was a night where which night was it? The Warriors have rested everybody twice, and on one game I think was against Minnesota, and they blew them out anyway. The next game they did lose, but when you looked at the score, like what? And then you saw, no Steph, no Draymond, nobody played. And they're still best record in the West. And Phoenix, DeAndre Ayton said he wanted to be more involved and be a go-to guy, and he is showing that a lot of nights. And that's for a team that already had a killer lineup. So the Suns have taken yet another step forward. And, man, the West, that's it. Those two teams are just incredible to watch.
And not only that, I'll throw one more at you here. The Warriors are getting Clay back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, that's it, man.
That's when it's over.
And if Clay can play 15 or 20 minutes a night.
Well, I want to throw something at you. If Clay comes back, obviously he's going to start back slow.
Yeah.
If he comes back and he's able to contribute and give you 18 points a game after once he gets back to normal time restraints. Yeah, time restraints. You throw what Andrew Wiggins is doing out there this season, because Andrew Wiggins, it doesn't look like I'm playing on Minnesota, I'm going to get my 30 points.
Right. He's figured it out.
He's figured it out, and man,
with KD and LeBron needing to learn how to win.
Yeah.
Wiggins needed the same thing, and it took him a while, but he's figured it out.
Yeah, and he's contributing, and man, you put Clay with Wiggins and Curry and then Draymond and then Wiseman, who is contributing a little bit, and then the guys they have coming off the bench. Tell me who's stopping the war. Tell me who's stopping. This is the Warrior Revenge Tour. This year is the Warrior Revenge Tour.
And we've been saying it for 2 years.
Yeah. On this show, literally, we've been saying that the war. What's the Warrior?
We've been saying it for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that when the stars get healthy and the second unit have been playing first unit minutes, now your second unit is incredible, and your first unit is incredible. Nobody beats you.
Exactly. Guys, we'll be right back after this break here on the Hrdwood Huddle, backsportspage.com, Cave Talk Radio. Christmas Day predictions here on the Hrdwood Huddle. We'll be right back. All right, Christmas Day predictions here on the Hrdwood Huddle. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So, Bill, let's go over the predictions. I'll let you pick first, and I'll give the reasons why with that pick. I'll give my pick, and we'll go from there. We'll start with the first game of the day. Hawks-Knicks.
I mean, ordinarily, I would take Hawks by 20. The only way we can really approach this, I think, is to say the rosters are going to be complete. At least we know Derrick Rose won't be there. Some of the other stuff. The Hawks are the better team. The Hawks are deeper. I guess the Hawks will have a hungry Lance Stephenson in the lineup. ready to prove something. And so the temptation to pick the Hawks is very strong. Obviously, we just don't know what they're going to look like, but the Hawks are one of those teams that should be one of the top 4 in the East and have had so many issues pile up on top of them that Nate McMillan has had to try to compensate for. But that being said, at least they're playing the Knicks.
Yeah.
The Knicks should help them look good on Christmas Day.
Trae Young and Danilo Gallinari, I know at last check we're in health protocol. So again, we don't know what they're going to look like. They don't know. I think they're supposed to get tested today, and we're going to find out if they'll be available for Saturday. So either way, I think the Knicks are a little bit in shambles right now. I think the Thibodeau losing his team thing has come a season early. I think they sort of just gave up on him a little bit because Thibodeau pushes his guys a little hard. I just think that the Hawks have more talent and have more weapons, even without Trae and Danilo. So I'm going to go Atlanta. So that's game number 1. This should be a fun prediction. I'm looking forward to hearing this from you. We have the Bucks and the Celtics on Christmas Day. I'll let you start first on this one.
Well, so the answer is, do we have Giannis in the lineup? And I haven't seen the latest on his testing either. But if Giannis plays, the Bucks win. If Giannis doesn't play, Jason Tatum is still one of the best players in the league, and they can ride him to a victory no matter what their other shortcomings have been. And the Celtics too have had their guys, Al Horford, different guys out of the lineup. But if Giannis doesn't play, Tatum's going to go off.
Yeah.
And it'll be a green Christmas for sure. Well, it's going to be green Christmas either way. But the Celtics, I'll take the Celtics if Giannis doesn't play. If Giannis plays, I don't care who else is out for the Bucks. I think he'll show his MVP prowess.
There's something about this matchup every single time these two teams meet, whether the Celtics have been up and down or what other injuries have been going on. The Celtics always seem to have Giannis's number. They've always seemed to be able to contain him. There's that little piece of me, even though I'm not a Celtics fan, that just think that they're going to keep turning it around. And we're a month and a half into the season already, and they just don't look good.
They don't.
I think even without Giannis, if Middleton and Drew Holiday are on the court, I think you still have that championship pedigree there. And I think that's enough to beat the Boston Celtics. I'm taking the Bucks over the Celtics. In what might be the game of the day, you have the Warriors and the Suns. This is Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson right now in the NBA. I'm just going to get my popcorn and watch this one. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, yeah, me too. It's easy to pick the Warriors. You know, the Warriors are on a mission. But when you look at what the Suns do, the one thing the Warriors don't have is a really legit low post presence. And granted, in the modern NBA, that's not as important. But when you do have everything else, when you have Chris Paul to answer Steph Curry, or at least be a road bump for Steph Curry, when you have Booker, the Suns have the things that the Warriors have, all that outside shooting, incredible outside shooting. They also have veteran leadership. The thing they have that the Warriors don't have currently is that low post presence. And maybe that is when you're looking for something to give you a difference in this game, the fact that Ayton is not going, there's no one, I mean, maybe, I don't say no one, Draymond Green can defend just about anybody, but you don't have a natural counter for DeAndre Ayton, and that may be the difference in the game. So I'll take Suns.
I just think right now the Warriors are just on fire right now. Phoenix just seems to. I think the one thing you can say about Phoenix from when they were eliminated in the NBA Finals to now, obviously, Devin Booker had an injury a couple weeks ago, and he's bouncing back. I think right now it's the hardest part is this team is looking to. Phoenix looks just as hungry as they did last season. I just think they didn't know how to close. And I think one of the things that this team is learning how to do right now is close big games. And I think that's a big thing.
If they can close this one, it'll be a massive step in their development.
We're running out of time here. Let's do our last two games. The Nets and the Lakers. It's a survival of the fittest of who's on the court. I just got the notification that James Harden is out of COVID protocol, so will be available for this game, and it looks like Kevin Durant will be available for this game too.
Nets.
Yeah. So game over. Game over. I think obviously, schedule makers didn't plan for COVID, obviously, and they also didn't plan for Anthony Davis not being available. But this is the marquee game in the marquee spot, but this might be a big disappointment for NBA fans. I'm going to pick the Nets just like you in that situation. Final game of the night, the Mavs and the Jazz. The Jazz. If this was full health, the Jazz are just a more disciplined team right now than the Mavs are. And
if everybody was playing for Dallas, including Luka, and if KP was playing, I'd still take Utah.
Yep.
The Jazz do have a tendency to play down to the level of their competition, which is why their record looks the way it does. They should be right there with Phoenix and Golden State. But I got to tell you, when the hope is for Utah fans that when the games really start to matter, you see the true Utah Jazz, the team that comes out and dominates at will many nights a year. And I think we'll see that team on Christmas. I
agree. You guys follow the Hrdwood Huddle on all social platforms through backsportspage.com. Follow us. We are on Spotify. We are on iTunes. We are on all the different podcast platforms. Thanks to Ryan Stern. Bill, Merry Christmas. We will see you next week. We'll talk about the New Year's, and we will react to everything that's going on. For Bill Ingram, I'm Randy Zelia. Merry Christmas to everybody. We'll see you next week here on the Hrdwood Huddle.
Merry Christmas.